2023, India should be a $4 trillion economy, making it fourth largest economy in the world. Do we all also know that India is the second largest English-speaking country in the world? Does anybody know what percentage of Indians actually speak English? It's 5%. So with that population, which is as large as probably the European population and probably larger than the European population who speaks English, India is sitting on a very strong wicket for attracting investments. And with those kind of investments will come the expatriates. With a 5% population speaking English, there is a fantastic manpower on the ground there. But the challenges are that most Indians don't understand Western cultures. Many of them have not even left their districts, let alone their capital cities.
So what are the issues that we actually see? Well, firstly, let's have a look. Firstly, the Indian skill sets are in huge demand in the UK. The numbers are increasing across all industries, but in particular around the technology aspect. These are highly intelligent, skilled, very professional people, but they tend to be fairly young, and this may be their first ever relocation, and almost certainly their first relocation to the UK. On top of that, they are often relocating at incredibly short notice. So we actually had a look at some of our major clients and the lead time from when they actually get their work permit to when they get on their plane. And the average time is between 3 and 5 days. So if we actually think about that for anybody else coming from any other part of the world, you have a much later lead time. But we have to, as I think in the industry, give them a duty of care and support them. So how do we do that? Well, there is my patient slide sitting up there, and I'm just going to talk about this one slide. I hope this works with one slide. But actually what we need to do is make sure that we relate to them in every single correct way. So first of all, these are often individuals relocating very, very quickly. Now, these are tech people as well. So if we're going to engage and really help them with their relocation in the UK, we need to actually reach them in a format that best works for them. Now, if that's technology, then we need to make sure we're in the technology space. So we spend a lot of time and effort on this to make sure that we can reach them, talk to them, engage with them 24/7 through a platform if that best works for them. One of the issues that we judge is to make sure that the assignee positivity on being in the UK is extremely high. So when they go back, they should be actually saying that was a great assignment, you too should be coming. Now, if you can keep doing that as a country, as an industry, we'll encourage and support more people coming to the UK.
I have lived in India, and on a daily basis, I actually deal with Indian assignees. So as someone who's been on assignment to India, I can relate to what has been said, and also I can relate with Indian nationals coming over to the UK and Europe. And the notion of the India inbound is something that I'm seeing fade away. We have a predominantly Indian workforce, but last year within DXC, we actually placed no one in India on assignment. However, we have a population of approximately 2,500 employees of assignment, of which 80% are Indian nationals. So it is quite clear there is a large shift in terms of talent and more companies looking at India as not just a place to outsource or send leadership to establish back office functions, but as your talent and potentially the future of your workforce. Whitehead Workforce Mobility recently conducted a survey with multiple countries with a strong presence in India, and what they found is their mobility professionals were not aligned to what their workforce wanted in terms of assignment benefits, and they needed to relook at their processes, but also as well streamline their policies. There was a lot of, shall we say, deals being made, and you could say things happening which maybe happened in the West 10 years ago for global mobility. So if we really want to manage this interesting workforce and something that is the future of global mobility, as professionals, we really need to start adapting and also look at how we can make our policies align to this.
Holly was absolutely right when she said that volumes into India from the UK have slowed down, right? That being said, and last 3 to 5 years were very slow time for the Indian economy. The expectation now is with the Build in India initiative of the current government ready to take off and nearly ready to take off, with about 200 odd American companies just waiting on the fence for these elections to end and the results to be out to take a call on moving their manufacturing from China to India. The future is going to be very different in the next 5 to 10 years. The demographics in terms of, so the numbers have gone down, most certainly, but there's been another very interesting development that we have seen. There are more and more women coming into India from the Western countries, which was not the case in the past. So there's certainly that demographic shift as well. But we see less of them in Delhi, because that's the most dangerous city for women to live in. Why do these people come into India? It's probably to set up their practices, to set up their, the processes, to do technology transfers, and so on and so forth.
I think there's been a substantial amount of change. I actually did some research on this recently because I was curious to see what the numbers of Indian signees to the UK is. It's actually quite hard to do this. And you left with a number about 63,000 Indian assignees came to the UK last year to do a work-based project. I mean, that's a substantial number. What we are seeing, though, is a case of actually making sure that there's a bigger duty of care. So if you look back 10 years ago, we were giving some basic information, basic advice about moving to the UK. Now clients are actually expecting us to make sure that we actually are there to help them, whether they're finding their own property, which is fine, but we're there as a sort of guardian angel to help them on all the core issues, or whether we actually are trying to help them find their property quickly, or on a few occasions do a full home hunt. It doesn't really matter. The issue is there is a consummate shift in regards to the level of support that I think is actually due to be expected to the population.
I think I'd like to echo what Simon's just said, and not just in accommodation, but also the package that is offered to an Indian employee. When I first started in earnest dealing with Indian outbounds, you could easily get someone to go with just the minimum threshold for immigration, but now we're getting pushback and we are being asked for accommodation support, education support, destination services, your typical expat benefits. So I think the demographics are definitely shifting to Indian outbounds, but potentially for the global mobility professional who's trying to cut cost, it's not actually going to optimize your cost savings within your global mobility function, but potentially increase them, as I'm seeing more and more Indian nationals wanting a typical expat package. Obviously the package, but also there is more of a level of hand-holding required than sometimes Western expats. Western expats have traveled extensively just in their personal lives, the majority, but as Rohit said earlier, a lot of the individuals from India may never have left their city. So coming to the UK, the US, Europe is quite unnerving for them. And that's also, as Simon has said, that duty of care is so much more important, I think, as we move more and more Indian outbounds.
I have to say, as a population group, I think these are A, some of the nicest people, B, some of the most intelligent, talented people you can actually ever have. I mean, they just generally are, because you're getting some of the top tier of the internationals coming across. They are keen to be here, they want to be here, they want to have a good experience, they want to go back in a positive frame of mind and actually tell their colleagues. So really what I think our role is to actually make sure is we feed on that, be there, support them, back them, just give them all the support we need, whether that's a full services or anything else, just make sure that we actually feed on the back of this. This is an amazing group of people, and we should, and I think as an industry in the UK, should be doing more to make their experience absolutely amazing.
I think it also starts kind of really highlighting to your leadership the importance of India and also how valuable it can be to the workforce. This is maybe people who do need that bit extra hand-holding, do need more of the typical relocation package, and if your company is not willing to offer that, they may struggle to maintain an Indian workforce. And we found that now we've started adding more, our retention is actually increasing and we are seeing a lot happier employees.
What needs to happen is that more help needs to be given to the assignees while they're in India before they come to the UK. A few years ago, it was very rare, if I'm going to be honest, that we were supporting families with educational support. This is now becoming more of a trend, and it has to become more of a trend. Because if we can actually, it's the same for any nationality, but if we can actually make the family happy and settled into the UK quicker, you have a far better, more productive assignee. So this is a whole journey that HR in India have got to start, the mobility team in India have to pick up, we have to actually pick up and then actually deliver on in the UK. But everybody has to work as one, because speed, I think, is of essence here. If you do that, you'll have a super, super happy assignee. It's a very easy fix to make them a much more productive person.
That's actually how we managed to increase and enhance our policy. We highlighted this to our leadership and said we're probably losing about $10,000 each assignee. We used there's some good studies on this. And when you then look at the bottom line, shall we say, the small cost of these benefits really outweigh that $10,000 per employee.
So 90% of these guys have never left India. This is their first assignment. 50% of them don't come with families. The other 50% do come with families but may not have children. That brings it down to about 25% who have children who may go to schools here. We do assist at the origin, point of origin, and something as simple as filling an application form for a UK visa, they find it difficult to even do that. They're engineers. They're very good at what they do, at their work. But their social skills and the cultural skills are not as strong as probably someone else's would have been. So yes, so they suffer from that. And of course, filling forms at schools would also be challenging for them because there are terminologies used here which are not common in India at all. So they would have difficulty understanding what's expected for them to even write on those forms.
Sarah Teasdale from Educators.
Oh, yes.
So just to say, I think of all the cultures that I see coming into the UK, for Indians who have children, schooling is their number one. It's their absolute number one. The panic starts often before they leave. They probably won't have a big relocation package and school fees. So the discussion needs to start before they leave if it can. But the most help is when they're here and having good support to actually access the state system and how it works, because they're very confused like most people. So I think it's really key.